I think we're now through the entire regular season, and I still have no idea what to feel about Alabama, right? Especially in this game. So you go into this game, and towards the end, Auburn's playing them close all the way. It's 24-20. Then Jalen Milroe in the offense, they have that ginormous fumble that should have taken them out of the game, right? But it didn't because unfortunately, of course, for Auburn fans and a lot of college football fans that root against Alabama, it didn't happen. Auburn collapsed 100 times more. And we do have a guest who is a fan of Auburn, Auburn.sportshub. You can follow him on Instagram. We'll put that in the bio. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks for coming on. I know that was a tough loss and a tough turnaround. So 3 days later, thanks for coming on. But I'll sandwich this. We'll talk about the play, of course, 4th and 31. But just to start out, because a lot of people weren't expecting this game to be so close, right? What is different about the Iron Bowl? Like why was because obviously, Auburn, no disrespect, they finished 6-6, but the week before they lose at home to New Mexico State 31-10. Of course, from Conference USA team, that's not ideal. What makes the Iron Bowl so special that it's close like this?
Well, it's just, I mean, if you go back and look in past years and all these great games that have been played in the Iron Bowl, I feel like almost since 2010, it's even grown into a bigger rivalry than it was before. It just holds so much respect from these players. They really want to get out there and compete every time that they face each other. And I think especially at Jordan Hare, crazy things happen over there for whatever reason. If you actually go back, I saw a stat. If you go back and look at the last 11 Iron Bowls, Auburn's 3-2 at Jordan Hare, and Alabama's 6-0 at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So it's just a heated rivalry, and especially at that stadium, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true about a lot of rivalries. Home field can, overpower maybe talent differences, but yeah, I think especially, and I think back to the kick six, of course, way back in 2013. I remember I was at an airport and everyone was going crazy. I'm like, what is all the yelling? But yeah, that was an awesome game. And then yeah, I agree with you. In the last 10 years, especially, it's really picked up, and always fun to see SEC rivalry. So let's talk about the play. First, I think it was a good play. I think it was good play by Alabama. And I just want to see if you agree with this. So you have 4th and 31. That's impossible, right? Everyone says that it's impossible. So what Alabama does is they have one receiver on the left, and I think they had two receivers on the left, and one turns to the center. All of them are going to the center. So all of Auburn's defenders go to the center. And then you get one guy who leaks out to the left. So what you have is, yes, it's a 50-50 shot, but you do have your one-on-one matchup in the left corner, and they got that one-on-one matchup and they won it. First of all, I just think it's a good play. What do you think about that on Alabama's part?
Yeah, well, it is definitely a good play design, and I've got to give it to Nick Saban. I mean, there's no denying he's one of the better coaches in college football, probably the best in all of the history of college football. So, I mean, he knows all
For
these
sure.
things, knows what to do on a 4th and a mile when you've got to get in the end zone. But I think it was really just a bigger mistake on our part. I've heard people complain about how we rushed only two. And while, yes, I don't really agree with only rushing two, the fact of the matter is we had 8 defenders sitting in the end zone, and you can't get a one-on-one. You can't afford that. And if you'll look, there's actually a safety that kind of slid over into the middle of the end zone, and he was not supposed to be there. It
Yeah.
should have 2-on-1, but it didn't pan out that way. And then from there, receiver just made a heck of a play.
Yeah, I think two things can be true. I agree that it's way more of execution. I was going to talk about that next. So the rush two, so it'd actually be 9 back there, which is that's a crazy ton of defensive backs. You think you'd be able to, stop the play. I would have, this wasn't the hugest part. I would have put one more rusher. Usually you see in the NFL, especially at the end of game situations, it's always 3 rushers because you have maybe a tag. I forget exactly how Auburn lined up. Was it a defensive tackle and an end, or I forget how it was? Yeah, go ahead.
How at it was we had 2 defensive tackles on the line, and
Oh my gosh.
there was actually a walked up middle linebacker, I guess, over the center. But
Yeah. Oh, okay.
only the tackles rushed Milroe, and the middle linebacker just kind of sat back and spied.
That's such a waste. Why even do that with the middle line? They're obviously not going to. Well, I get the short game, but still, I mean, come on. There's 8 other players back there. They're not going to do the
At that
short
point,
game
we're
on.
not defending
Yeah,
short game, trying to defend the deep ball.
yeah,
And I think at the very least, because you know that chances are he's going to get one to the end zone. And your goal is, to get him rushing around, knocked off enough to where it's a bad pass. And we didn't do that at all. We gave him all the comfortability in the world.
yeah. My personal preference, I just get rid of the linebacker situation. I would put 2 edge rushers and then 1 defensive tackle. So you have at least yes, they're not going to get there right away because it's an offensive line versus 3 guys, but they will get there eventually. That's what I would have done. I would have just got rid of linebacker. I had 8 back, right? But I agree with you also that it's more of an execution thing. I think you can't get a one-on-one matchup in that sense. I do that. Yes, it was a good play by Alabama, but that's inexcusable. But lastly, I think what we got to think about is, should the defender just tackle them, right? You got the one-on-one matchup. Just tackle them. I get it. It's going to be a first down, but it's 1st and 16. The Alabama offense has been struggling all day. I would rather take that. No offense to your quarterback, Peyton Thorne, under 100 yards passing in the game. He probably
Yeah.
wasn't going to march it down the field regardless. I would have taken my chances with that Auburn defense. What do you think?
Well, as far as like tackling the receiver, I mean, I don't know that I would say go that far, but you do have to realize that he's in the end zone, and if he catches this ball, we're going to lose.
Yeah. Or push him out. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind some tugging, some pushing, in which there was a little bit of it. I mean, before the ball got there, I don't remember who it was on Isaiah Bond, but I want to say it was Coy Moore, maybe. But I did see him doing a little tug at Isaiah Bond, and then of course, a lot of Auburn fans complained about the push off, but that's just how those things go, with a jump ball. But yeah, I would have liked to see him be a little bit more aggressive, and also about just trusting our defense. That was our strong point in the game. It's been the strong point all season. I mean, obviously, with Peyton not really starting a full game until I think like week 5 or 6, he's a little behind. And I could tell that he wasn't ready for high pressure SEC football in the beginning. And I think he's improved a little bit. But like you said, I mean, 100 yards, which we did rely on the running game a lot, but he does.
And most of the season too, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one thing I'm saying, I was a DB in high school. It's been a little bit since I've been in high school. I'll admit that. Usually you can tell if you're like, oh crap, this guy's going to catch the ball. Like, but if you're in position enough where you can, because I get you want to make the play. If the DB makes the play on 1-on-1, game's over, right? He knocks it away. But if you have that gut feeling, yeah, maybe tackling him is a little extreme, but push him out of it. Just get him up, live another down, go to what they're at the 31, so it'd be 1st and 16. Alabama hasn't been super. I like the chances with the defense, but I also like your perspective too on that. But last thing I wanted to ask about was a little bit about, because obviously we had to talk about the play, but since you came on, just about Auburn in general, right? So I think 2019 was the last really good season Auburn had. And obviously before that, they've had pretty good teams. Obviously, Cam Newton had the amazing season at Auburn. And then since then, they've had good teams. So how does Auburn get relevant in the SEC again? I guess I'd say.
Well, I'll go ahead and I guess expose myself on my hot take that I've been saying this ever since it happened. I don't think we should have got rid of Malzahn, but it did happen, and it's been a while now, so got to move forward.
Because Freeze is at Auburn right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Brian Harsin, the next guy we got after Malzahn, was a good fit at all. He'd never been in the SEC, and that's, you just got to play in the SEC to know what it's like. I mean, it's different. It's a lot more intense. But now with Freeze, we've got a guy who's already proved himself in the SEC, and he can be a winning coach, and we know that. And not just that, but he completely turned around Liberty, and I think they're still seeing the good effects of what he did over there. But coming into this season, a lot of people were like, oh, Auburn's going to win 9-10 games because we got Freeze. And that's just not how it works. I mean, the last 2 years, we've really driven ourselves into the ground with recruiting, And I mean, really just all of it, especially recruiting. That's the big thing for me. It sucked the past 2 years, and it's going to take more than a season for him to turn that around. And that's why I think this year he's got a lot more to focus on than just wins and losses.
Yeah. I will say the one thing being in the location Auburn is they're in a recruiting hotbed. So yes, they might be losing the battles right now, but you could always, quote unquote, get back in the game. So no, interesting take on that. And I agree about the SEC coaching. It just means more, right? But no, anyways, Auburn again, once again, Auburn.sportshub. Go follow them on Instagram. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving your perspective. And yeah, we'll see how Auburn turns it around.
Thank you.